Thanks. Good evening. Thanks for coming to the Fair Access Committee meeting on April 16th. We have with us tonight Sarah Peck-Sema is here with me, and we've got Nancy and Kid and Ed Reed on the line, and Laura Van Epperen is also on the line as well. First thing we need to do is adopt the March minutes. If we could get a motion to do that.
I motion to adopt the March 12th minutes.
Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks. Quite a few things to cover, mostly in updates, but you may have some other issues I don't know about, and that's fine too. So let's start with the operating budget testimony. I want to thank in person Sarah for testifying. She did a great job, and all the people that testified did, and it makes a big difference. We'll talk a little later on in the meeting about what we do now going forward to help reinforce what we did in the testimony, because I was telling Sarah before you guys got on, I sat down at the council for 2 days with Alan Hobbs and watched the budget debates, and it's really going to be fraught with danger for all the issues that we want. And we were lucky we got it out of the community center, on a 6-0 vote, which is solid. So theoretically, it should be a 6-5 at worst, which means we would get it out of the council too. But on the turf field, Marilyn Balcom voted against it, not because she didn't agree with putting in a turf field at Poolesville, but because she said we've got long-term budget issues. We can't just keep kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
So if we put this in, and we also put HVAC in, and we put plumbing issues that schools have and lighting, all those things, we're not going to have the money. So we got to figure out now how we start dealing with it. So I want to basically put a marker down saying, we've got to start thinking about what we're going to spend money on. So anyway, I will later on. We'll talk a little bit about what we do after the operating testimony. That, like I said, it was really helpful. I know it had an impact. Having 6 people testify compared to, I think there were 190 witnesses. So you think about that. We're like 2 or 3% of the total number of people who testified, which is pretty good. Even Wootton didn't have as many people as we have, and they've got a real serious issue in Wootton. So thank you for doing that, everybody. I wanted to update you a little bit on the farmer's plaque. As you know, we had a farmer's plaque that we awarded to the farming community at our breakfast, and it was well received. It's actually up now on Wayland Commons. It looks beautiful. It's actually at the entrance when you come back on Bell Street, back towards the town hall. Very visible from the street. A nice sign, well done. So, but we wanted to have a ceremony to dedicate it, and we settled on, and talking to the Farm Bureau, Bob Sissel, the state ag people, and the county ag people. They recommended July 26th, which is a Sunday. So from a standpoint of a reception and so forth, that might be good timing, because we could maybe do it at 5 in the afternoon, and then maybe even come into town hall and reception or something. So I've got about 55 names right now in a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet. I'm populating it with the help of town staff, all the emails. I've got a lot of them, but not all of them, and telephone numbers and who they're with as well. And I'll circulate that to you shortly once we have it, so you can add names. I've been talking to a couple of really interesting farms and I think one of them, Chirindu Farms, which is a black farm in Dickerson, black-owned farm. They grow tabletop crops. And a farm called Artsy Farmer, which is really cool. I've never been there, but I talked to Marilyn about it, and she showed me some pictures. It's a llama farm in Dickerson again. And they also have crafts and that kind of thing. So I just wanted to expand the envelope and have, a lot of farmers that are kind of not the normal big crop farmers. And, we want them, but we also...
A variety.
Yeah, we appreciate the other farmers too.
Great.
So I've had conversations with the state ag. I think we'll get the Secretary of Agriculture. I've talked to Mike, our Scheffel, our ag department guy here in the county. He's going to be able to make it. So I think we had a good start on it right now. So be looking out for that. And if you got names or whatever, and if you got emails and that kind of thing, once you get it, let me know. On the candidate forums, we got the at-large one coming up on April 27th, and the Board of Education on May 11th. On the Board of Education, there are only 4 people running for at-large, so it's relatively easy to put that one together. I've asked Ed because of his MCPS credentials to MC it, if you wouldn't mind. So, and he's graciously agreed to do that. So, I think it would help him if we got some ideas on questions to send him to him. I'm sure he's got quite a few that he can put together too. And he's said he's going to talk to Sue Ann as well, who's the cluster coordinator, to get other questions. So, and then on the at-large, it's a little more difficult. We got 17 people. I looked at
I feel
other.
like that's too many. I mean, that was the complaint, even just at the one where we just had
Yeah.
5
Yeah.
candidates. Everyone who I spoke to afterwards said it felt like they only had time to give these short little snippet
Yeah.
one-liners, and they wanted people to have more of a chance to kind of go into real issues. And so I think, as I think about how we invited sort of, I'll call them like 2 not current sitting, council members to be part of that. On one hand, it brings up some issues maybe that you wouldn't have thought of.
Right.
But on the other hand, a lot of people felt like it was a distraction and they really just wanted to hear from like the primary candidates. So I'm curious, as we think about 17, is there, I don't know, is there a way for us to narrow the field a little bit?
Well,
Or I guess just have fewer questions?
yeah, that's one solution, and give them longer to answer the question.
Yeah.
I also talked to, what's it called, that senior living center in Bethesda.
Okay.
Good Lord, I forget the name of it, but it's a big senior living center. They actually had all of the candidates, but they broke it up into 4. But the difficulty with doing that, and they admitted this, was that after the first 4, getting more people at the second 4 got harder. And
Oh, yeah.
after a while, it was like, especially if they didn't recognize any of the names.
Yeah.
So, it's one of these things where there's like no right solution.
Yeah.
And it was funny, I talked today to, so the one on the 27th, those are candidates we know and have been out here a lot, like
Right.
Mark Elrich and
Yeah.
Lori Ann. One of the candidates who is, I think his name is Parmu, I've forgotten his last name now, but he and I had a long chat today for probably 45 minutes. Number one, he's very impressive. I mean, he's a doctor. He was an ER doctor in Afghanistan, was in the Army for 20 years, very articulate. And one of the points he made to me when we were talking about this was, to your point, Sarah,
Yeah.
but on the opposite side of it, you guys already see all these people who are already elected, and you kind of think that those are the only people, but we also bring something to the table, and nobody knows us.
Yeah, it's a different perspective.
Yeah.
For sure.
So he was saying, I think you ought to at least have 2 forums because we need to be heard too. And that's a valid point.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, I talked to Niles, there is another date in May, I'll send it around to you. I think it's the 26th if I'm not mistaken, but, so we could do another one on the 26th, and it may not be as big because I've not been able to get 3 of the names and addresses. I've called and tried to find out who these people are. They're on the list, but they don't have an email address, they don't have a website, and they don't have a telephone number.
Well, Link,
So I'm
I'd
just gonna-
say it's not your responsibility.
Yeah.
If they've
So I think I'm
not
just going to
done a
go with the
good
5
job
that I
of-
could see and
That's right.
do that. But
That's
so
right.
I'm thinking about that, even though
Yeah.
it is more work, but on the other hand, it's the right thing to do. I think the guy made a
Yeah.
good point. So.
Yeah.
Anybody else have an opinion on that, Nancy or
Hey.
Ed?
Link, yeah, I was just wondering too. So we have 5 right now. Is that what we're looking at?
No, we got 8 right now.
We got 8.
Yeah. The next
That's a
one,
lot.
if we did a second one, we'd have 5, maybe 6. If
Okay, so
I don't know if people would come to a second one.
yeah,
and then with the 8, because at the same time I'm looking through the lens of not the folks who are running for office, but those in the audience.
yeah.
And when you feel like you invest an hour and a half, are you really getting a good return on your investment, or are you just getting a few sound bites from a bunch of candidates?
So I guess
Right.
the other way we could deal with that is that we could add another half an hour to it. I mean, that's not too much more, and that will give more time for them to answer, I guess.
That's one option. And then with the 8 who are going to be at the forum, is there a way to look at like even just polling and just seeing like who are the top 8 or the top 5 candidates? Or is that too early?
I don't know that there's any reputable polls right now. In the congressional race, there have been 2 polls, and at least so far, Adam Pagnucco doesn't think too much of the polls that are out there. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel at this point that asking 1 or 2 of them not to come on that. Although I did talk to Scott today, Goldberg, and I think he would be fine coming on that second one. So I could ask him, and we could shorten it, maybe make it smaller that way.
Yeah.
I could explore, in other words, with a couple of them saying, would you mind coming on the later date? But the problem is, Sarah just pointed out, is you're not going to get as many people.
Yeah.
Right. And I think a person like Scott's been out here.
Oh, yeah. No question.
Right. And I hate that those who've made the investment in our community, I think we should make an investment in them.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you got folks who have not been here, don't know who they are. And for them, it's an opportunity to gain some, to get some recognition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And while that's nice, I think it cuts down on the effectiveness of what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
But the time we've invited 8. I wouldn't invite any more than what we've already invited. Though.
No question about it.
Well, what if we were able to, what if we scheduled 2 hours and split it into 2 hours? Like, split the candidates into 2 sessions within the same 2-hour block?
I think you'd get people leaving after the first hour.
And possibly, too, Nancy, if we did that and you've got 17, let's say it's 14, because the 3 of them I can't reach. So that would be 7 and 7.
Well, I was thinking with the 8 that you already have.
Yeah. But so 8 and 7, let's say, or 8 and 6. You still would have only an hour of questions for 8.
Oh, so no, I was thinking like just dealing with the 8 from the first scheduled time.
You're talking
Like-
about adding a half an hour like I talked about earlier.
Yeah, adding a half an hour, but then splitting it up so you're not just bouncing around the 8 the whole time. You have 4 focused and then 4 focused.
I mean, I think the other potential solution is we really just hone in on like what are the most important questions. Like we know
Yeah.
that there's going to be a lot of questions, but like really what if we just narrow it down to like we're going to focus on these like 3 key questions or something.
Yep.
So do you guys think it's too late to announce that we're going to make it a half an hour earlier just to give more time for answers or not?
It's
No, I think that's fine.
Yeah.
And I like what Sarah's saying. I like what Nancy's saying as well. If we start with what Nancy's thought, if we broke it up with the 8 and go 4 and 4, and we run through the questions, and then we have a switch with the next 4. That's one way. If we're not able to do that, then I would revisit the questions and look at the alignment of the issues that we've been advocating for.
Right.
I would start with those questions.
Right. So,
You can also do both.
yeah.
I'm a little confused. The at-large one on April 26th or
27. Yeah.
27th. You're saying there are 14 candidates?
Altogether, there are 14.
And
But I thought we only had 8 who are coming,
8
right?
are coming.
8 who are coming.
Not 14. No.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
The guy that I talked to today called me because initially when I started this, I didn't specify any kind of makeup or anything. I just said we're looking at an at-large, and I sent an email to these folks. And the response back was, I'm happy to come anytime, blah, blah, blah. So we came up with the 8 as our initial one. And since then, I've gotten calls from this guy and another one of the candidates who said, I'm looking at who you've got coming, and they're all people who are elected. It's no wonder they always come out because they have reason to deal with you. Now, I could argue with that because I can tell you that wasn't the case before Andrew Friedson was a council member. So just because they're elected doesn't mean they spend a lot of time out here.
So his argument was you should have me out here because people don't know me yet.
Right. They don't know me, and I have something to offer, and I've not had a chance to. Now, he is coming out. To be fair to him, he not only called me, and none of these other candidates did, he also is coming out here to locals next Thursday for 2 hours.
Great.
So he is, which is good. Maybe we're actually stimulating them to say, I want to come out and see who you guys are.
Yeah.
But, so it's,
So that's one of the other candidates So you're saying if we let him come, that would be 9?
Yeah, and I don't think I already told him today, I said, I don't think we should keep expanding it, because if I do that for you, then the next person that calls, I mean,
Yeah.
and then it becomes, like you said, you've all said, and we've experienced this with the Board of Education 2 years ago, there were 17 people, and it was
Yeah.
a nightmare. So I think
So are all of the 8 who are coming people who are already in office?
they're all people that we've dealt, no, they're not all in office. So Scott is not,
Oh,
Justin,
okay.
is in office, but not as an at-large council member. He's a member of the Gaithersburg City Council. Steve Solomon has never been elected to office. So no, they're not. It's a mix.
Okay, I was just wondering if we could set it up that way,
Yeah,
separating.
yeah. So,
No.
I think your 2 ideas, I think the idea you put on the table of adding a half an hour, if we do as much promotion as we can and say, just make sure that we get as much, as deep an answers as we can, and also focus the questions, so we don't ask the big questions, for example, about taxes in the budget, but all focus. And we had 8 that were on our area, and the 3 weren't. So we just do the 8 that were 6. We'll send it around, and you guys decide which ones you think are most important, and we'll go with those.
Well, is there
And we'll put
also-
it to 2 minutes instead of a minute and a half. Right now, we're saying a minute and a half for answers. Maybe
They
give
need
them
more
2 minutes.
time. Yeah, they need more time.
I thought the time was a little bit short last time, like, it was, the answers weren't all that deep.
Right.
So, and I also wondered, so yes, I think more time for each answer and fewer questions would be good.
Right.
And then, I don't know if this is possible with this many people, but it sort of would have been nice to have a little bit of conversation. Like, somebody would say something and then there was just sort of, there was no response from other
Like
people.
giving them an opportunity to almost like rebuttal one another.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's complicated with this many people, but I think that it would take away the soundbite piece a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah. I think there's 2 challenges of that. I think it's a good idea, but one challenge is that if you did that, they're going to select somebody to engage with that's the opponent they think they have to beat. And so it becomes more of a dialogue between them than among all of them answering a question. And that's one potential problem with it.
Unless you say who gets to respond.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's not as organic, like, that's not a conversation, obviously.
Right.
But,
Yeah. I guess you could start out by saying, like on the first question, Will, you said X and Andrew said Y. Andrew, can you tell me why you think that? And Will, what's your response to Andrew? We could do that kind of thing too.
Exactly.
Or even after they answer the question saying, I heard what you said, but I also heard what his name said.
Right.
What do you guys,
Right. So you could sort
they're
of
on the same page.
yeah, empower the moderator to
yeah.
invite some rebuttal time
Right.
where
Yeah.
they feel it's appropriate.
Yeah. I'm going to challenge you on that. You said, okay, that's a good point. Yeah, we could do that.
Yes, so the moderator just becomes the facilitator of the conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just real quick, can you run through the name of the 8 that we have so far?
Mark, Steve Solomon, Jim McNulty, Scott Goldberg, Lori Ann Sales, Carla Silvestri. It might only be 7 now that I think about it. Oh, no, the Republican too, because Sully hit me up, and he's right. There's only one Republican, and you can't really have a forum for them. So his name is Sherwin Wells. And then Fatma, I think her last name's Barada. And she's another person, not only did she call me, but she spent more than an hour, and she also called 2 of the council members and asked them questions about. So,
She
again.
testified at the same hearing that I was at.
Yeah.
She's pretty intense.
Yeah, she is intense. Yeah, so maybe she'll do what Nancy was suggesting, stir up the pot a little bit. I don't know. I thought that maybe that would happen with Peter James or somebody, but
She's
it
a
didn't.
potster.
They just kind of ignored him. So those are the 8.
So it sounds like if you could do, if we could expand it to 2 hours and then restrict it to really not very many questions,
Right.
but use the questions as a framing for facilitated discussion.
Yeah.
that where Link, you're really facilitating and saying, I'm assuming you're moderating again, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, let's say you have 4 questions or 6 questions or something for the whole 2 hours, but, maybe everybody gets a chance to answer each one, and then you pass it around and do follow-up kinds of things to engage.
To that point, Nancy, the other thing I could do too, because I'm going to have to let them all know this, say we're going to have another half an hour just to make sure the audience actually hears a little more detailed answers. I maybe should say in that note that we also want to encourage some real discussion of the issues and criticism back and forth. So I'm going to try to make sure I try to facilitate that, just so they know, and maybe they'll be prepared to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
Definitely.
I would add on too. Not only we want to have a discussion, but they should come prepared to offer not just theory, but like concrete plans. What are your plans, and not just the typical politically correct answer,
Right.
but be able to speak to, respect the intelligence of our community. No one really wants to sit around and hear campaign slogans.
That's right.
Well,
Platitudes.
What is your plan? How would you do what you say you're going to do?
Yeah.
Let's have those conversations.
That's great. Good points. Okay, I think that's really helpful. Yeah, it's interesting because when I talked to Scott Goldberg today, he called me and he asked me how many people are going to come, and I said, have you invited? I said, well, it's going to end up, I think, being 8. And he said, well, that's going to be hard to give some really good answers that are thoughtful. And I said, well, let me put you on the spot because I've heard you talk. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but on his Instagram account, he's got this. I'll answer any question he has. It's really cool, and he does answer any question. But when he came to taxes, somebody asked him a question on taxes and spending. It wasn't much there. That's what I told him on the phone. I said, Scott, why don't you tell me, because I know you got some union endorsements, and we're going to have to cut some staff probably. We're going to have to cut some salaries. Maybe, I don't know, but how are we going to get spending under control if we don't take on some of these issues? And he gave me a pretty detailed answer, and it was thoughtful. So maybe I just need to do that instead of saying, what are you going to do on taxes? Look, we got to be specific here. All of us want to know how this is a serious issue. You're right. The economy's in trouble. How do we deal with it? Get specific. What are we going to do about it?
Yeah, you got to drill down.
Yeah, there are pay issues. We know MCPS, as much as we love the school system, it's been criticized as
Yeah.
a lot of money. How are we going to do a better job?
Yeah.
Get specific.
Yeah.
Well, that's the kind of thing, I mean, if you're able to really press them on that link, like they ask a question, you ask a question, they give you some, high level abstract stuff, and you're able to really push them on, be specific, I think that will help some differences emerge.
Yeah.
Thank you. That would be really good.
Yeah, and to that point, Nancy, we actually have, as you saw in the framework, it says if somebody challenges you, you have 30 seconds to rebut. I'll just say, I'm going to take the 30 seconds there because nobody's rebutting anybody. You just said this and you said that.
Yeah.
What is the real answer? You're not giving us details. I mean, I could
Right.
pretty simply do that.
Right. What does that mean? How would you actually operationalize that in practice?
Yeah, that's good points. All right, good. On the BOE, Ed, I think it's a little easier. We got 4 candidates, so it'll be a lot easier to do some of these things. But I do think getting good questions, like you just said, is the key on that one. So, and if you could all help, Nancy, Laura, we'll need a graphic that changes it from 6 to 8:30. What is it now? Was it 6:30 to 8? Yeah, 6:30 to 8:30. I think is all we need to do. Do you think we need to do that with BOE, or are we fine with what we got?
I don't think you need as much time. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Just 'cause it's
We'll leave
so-
that the same.
Yeah. I'm really sorry. I had a question in my brain and then it just left. So, oh well.
Okay.
Hopefully it'll return.
All right, well, that's great. That was great feedback. On our key priorities, obviously on the key community center vote, we did get the initial vote. But like I said, when I talked to Marilyn afterwards, and she did the same thing, she said the same exact thing when the discussion of the turf field came up. She said, this is a great vote. You got a 6-0, which means theoretically it'll be 6-5 at the worst, and you should have your community center design funded. But we have 2 more weeks of hearing people and saying yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then we're going to have May where we're going to start saying no to some of
right.
these requests.
That's right.
So on that point, Laura, I wanted to ask, so we part of getting to yes for us is to reinforce the messages that all of our speakers did a good job on. And you put together, and Derek had some thoughts about how to improve it a bit, a kind of a way to look at those so we could send it out to them, they could click on it and actually get a view of what various speakers said. You also said, though, that neither you nor I are tech gurus when it comes to making kind of pithy videos that would, in like 2 or 3 minutes, summarize all the testimony. And I think the woman you've worked with was on vacation. Is she going to be back anytime soon, as far as you know?
Yeah, she gets back next Monday, so we can take the video content or snippets of some of the key points, like that Sarah made, Jim, from everybody that testified. I think Chuck was the only one who actually just submitted his testimony, but we can actually take snippets and edit that together, and then maybe house that on the Fair Access web page and link to it in a social graphic. Our initial idea of having kind of like a Brady Bunch set up and being able to click on each module and hear the testimony is a little complicated because it's social media and it's not meant to house, many videos.
Yeah.
So that may be a workaround, but Shanna does get back next week and she said she's happy to talk. She's just on vacation. So we may be able to edit that together and still have an impact after we push this graphic out, if you're approving posting it this week, in the coming weeks. And it sounds like there will still be that impact because they're still discussing budget items.
Oh, yeah. So what I was thinking is that if all you guys could take a look at what Lori put together, and Derek did have some improvements to it, and if you're good with going ahead, if we can go ahead and do it like end of this week, early next week, and then when she gets back, their votes start happening in the second week in May, I think. So if we can have that video then to reinforce this, I think it would be really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So let's target that and see what happens.
Okay.
But at a minimum, if we at least have this piece and we've got something where they can go back to and look at the testimony. By the way, they also, I don't know if you guys have seen the memos they put together, the staff memos that they have when they have budget votes. The staff memos have assessment of the issue, the legal aspects of it, and then the staff recommendations. And in the staff recommendations, at the end of it,
Those are powerful.
they also have, though, all the testimony if you submit it. So make sure whenever you testify, you submit it in writing because they will then have it. So mine's in there.
Okay, I haven't-
forgot to tell you that. That was my fault.
I'll email mine in.
Yeah.
Who do I send it to?
If you go on the Montgomery County website, council website, and just say submitting testimony to the council or something like that,
Yeah.
you'll find it. You can either
Okay.
do video or you can do a written testimony.
Okay.
And that's nice because then they have it summarized at the end. Who testified, what they said.
Yeah.
So it gets reinforced that way. Tom, I helped Tom put his in, Tom Kettler, because he didn't get to testify, but it's in there now because I submitted it for him, so.
Okay.
Anyway. So that's that on the community center. Pool bubble, nothing on that, except we did get $200,000 again from the state. David Frazier Doggo called me. And so now we have $400,000 from the state.
For the pool bubble.
Yeah, which is
Well,
pretty
that's
amazing.
fantastic.
Yeah. So Gabe called me after that, after David called him and said, well, we need to get together next week and talk about how we move this project forward. He said, now that the state's put this much in,
Yeah.
it's a lot more pressure on the county to start doing something. So we'll see, but at least let's give David credit again for doing that.
Yes, fantastic.
Yeah. White's Ferry, so the only bright side I can say is that you heard Andrew at the debate. Since then,
Okay.
when I've talked to him, and it was just yesterday, day before yesterday, he said nothing's changed. So it still doesn't look like anything's on the horizon. However, April has been talking to Spanberger there's a new delegate in Loudoun County who got elected last time. The congressman that is new now in Leesburg. And she thinks there's a Democratic coalition here that can be built, which, with the governor being a Democrat too, they might actually be able to put more pressure on both parties with a united front. So we'll see. But right now, in terms of the two parties and the money that's going to be available to July 1st, like Andrew said, I'm not going to count my chickens. Right now, I don't see any evidence that anything's happening, but we'll see.
Okay.
So, I think has anybody else got anything? Those are the main things I wanted to cover. Nancy or Ed? I did want to mention one other thing, on this turf field, and it really was interesting, is that Hans Reamer came out of nowhere, basically, and called me and said he wanted to start getting a coalition together, and he's done an amazing job. The PC did with Adam Pagnuco, I thought, was really well.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, he really well argued. And he's also done it in a way that they're not denigrating any of the health or environmental or safety issues that have been raised. They're just pointing out that there have been a lot of improvements, and they're also pointing to the equity issues. And if you guys didn't see it, they've got this great chart that shows how many hours of playing time kids have with a turf field versus grass. And it's night and day. And it's not just for school activities, it's also after school. So a lot of communities that don't have fields that are able to be used after rains and that kind of thing, they can use them even though they're on a school property. So there literally is 0 hours in some areas on grass for community because they're used by the teams all the time, and they've got to be rested between times if they're overused.
Right.
That's not true with turf.
Yeah.
So turf is like 20,000 hours versus 0. It's just an amazing number.
know.
So-
And there, I hear from Mark and from Will, the concern over the environmental concerns. So I think in order to allay those, we really need to at least provide evidence for our specific case, how these concerns could be mitigated.
Yeah, and there is better evidence in there. There's no question they've done a better job,
Yeah.
but like anything in society, when man is building something or makes something, there's usually gray,
Yeah.
not black and white.
No, it's a complicated issue, and it is a targeted solution.
We're only talking
It's-
about one
it's-
field.
Yeah, we're not talking about replacing all grass
No.
with turf.
Right.
It is just one field.
But I think the effort is really, we had an hour and a half or 2 hour meeting at the council, brought in 6 council members and met with all of them, had good discussions face to face. He did the editorial. They've done a lot of good research. So I think he's really helped. And of course, Alan has been as usual, a bulldog, and he's done a great job of trying to get everybody moving forward on the issue. So more to come, but I think a lot of progress is made on that too.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you. Anybody else got anything else? Laura, thanks for all your help.
No, it sounds good. Are any of you going to the D15 meeting in Germantown or jumping online?
I think I might. It's BlackRock, right?
Yeah, go back and look at it. I thought it was at a different place.
Oh, okay.
But I'm going to join from the comfort of a couch with my leg propped up.
Well, you better do that because I don't want you to move around and break it open again. So
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So I know Derek's going.
yeah, Derek's going down too. All right. Well, thanks you all for coming tonight. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Hey, look, just before you make the motion, if any of you got good questions or ideas for the BOE, I know we got a little time, but feel free to shoot them my way.
I will.
And include a link on them.
I will. And I know you're talking to Sue Ann, and that's good too. So
Yeah. Now I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
second,
A second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Thanks for the good comments today too. By the way, it's very helpful. And Niles, thanks for setting it up. Laura, thanks for all the help on the graphics and stuff. See you later.
All right, guys, take care.